Hi, I'm Laura and this is Chris.
Hi.
Welcome to my channel, Aquamarine 18. Thanks for stopping by, or welcome if it's your first time here. We have a deck to share with you, and we have not looked at it yet, so it's an unboxing. We're going to share our initial thoughts, and the deck has been given away by the title of this video and Chris's attire. The deck is Star Trek, The Next Generation, Tarot deck, and guidebook. And this is the Insight Editions deck. It's the first Insight Editions deck that I've ever had. I have kind of said that I would never get a pop culture deck, but also if there was anything Star Trek that I would get it, and so that is what has won out.
So make it so.
Make it so, and it says make it so on the box right there. So it's still in the plastic wrap, so you know that we haven't looked at it. And I have not watched, you can't shake the table. We have not watched any unboxings of this deck or anything like that. Chris is not really a tarot person, so he would not have watched any unboxings of any deck before.
You already read the back, and you know.
And I've read the back, so I know some of the cards which he's suggested is cheating.
Cheated.
Because I saw that there are some cards on the back. But that's as much as either of us has seen. So, we are going to rip open this box and see what we think and tell you our initial impressions as people who really like Star Trek. One of whom also loves tarot. The other of whom tarot is fine with it, but also not into it. So, here we go. The moment of unboxing. Ooh.
It's a good sturdy
What do we?
box.
It's a good sturdy box. You knock on the box to show that it's a sturdy box. What do you think of the art?
I love it. Well, I mean, it's the next generation, so I love it.
It's the next generation. There's a
Star
lot of
Trek.
serious faces going on there. So, something else that's good about this box is that it has the finger spots so that it's easy to open. When it doesn't have that, it's not as good because then you have to shake the box. So you know. So we've talked a little bit. We didn't really plan what we were going to do, but we've talked a little bit about who we think will be in the deck. Obviously, the bridge crew is on the box. So, first we have a guidebook.
Ooh, very nice.
What do you think?
Well, very well done. I like it. Smells good.
It smells good. It smells like a new guidebook.
I've seen an Ensign Rowe.
You're giving away.
I see an Ensign Rowe.
Ensign Rowe is going to be in it. So, the guidebook is 127 pages, which is pretty good. And the sections that it has are an introduction,
To all the majors.
all the majors, understanding your tarot deck, all the minors, and then tarot readings, caring for your deck, and then there's spreads and author and illustrator. And we have the 4 suits.
Suit of starships. Suit of batlets. Suit of latinum. Oh yeah, that's okay. And suit of cloaks.
So we have cloaks, latinum, batlets, and starships, and I have a good sense of which of the 4 it's going to be. Of swords, cups, wands, and pentacles.
Oh yeah, what do you think they are?
Should I say
Well,
before we go?
batlets are obviously swords, right?
That's a good guess. Latinum is going to be pentacles. Because pentacles are coins. So Latinum's definitely going to be pentacles.
Or starships,
Starships and cloaks.
staffs, and what are the other
The other one is cups.
cups?
We're going to find out. Anyway, we'll look at the guidebook afterwards because we want to look at the cards without having a spoiler. So,
Ooh,
inside the box,
very nice box.
there's a ribbon to get the cards out easily. That's good. The cards are not wrapped in plastic inside the box, which is good because that shit is wasteful. Swearing's loud.
Oh, nice. Show that.
The inside of the box has this Enterprise on it, which is good. And I won't show you the back of the box because you think it's cheating, but the back of the box says, seek out new destinies and new points of view with this official tarot deck inspired by the hit TV show Star Trek The Next Generation. Featuring original art of Captain Picard, Data, Worf, Counselor Troy, Commander Riker, and many more. And it says includes a fully illustrated deck. So, we'll see what it looks like. Do you want to show the back of the cards to everybody? Ooh. What do you think of the back?
Well, they're very shiny. Ooh, look who I picked up, too.
They're very shiny. They're matte.
They're matte.
For folks who are watching. Usually when we say shiny, it means it's glossy, but they're matte.
They're nice.
They're nice. Do you think that they would be good to shuffle?
Oh.
If you hold them? Do you think they would be
Absolutely.
good?
Let me see. Yeah.
Don't shuffle them now.
Don't shuffle them yet. They are a little sticky right at
They're
first.
a little bit sticky.
At first. I imagine with a little bit of use they would get better.
Okay. Heard it from the expert. So, we're going to start with the Major Arcana and see what we think. And you've already seen one. The Fool.
Who do you think
Stop
the Fool
here
would be?
if you don't want spoilers of the deck.
The Fool.
You have to go up higher. There
this
you
way?
go. Yep.
Data.
Data is
Look.
the Fool.
It's just like me.
Just like you.
No. So Data the Fool, huh?
What do you think Data's personality characteristics are like?
Well, he's not really the Fool. I mean, unless it's a fool's mission to become human when he can't become human.
Learning to become human. That could be a thing for the Fool, I think. Actually. But he's not foolish in the sense of foolishness so much. Except sometimes he kind of is. Do you like the picture of him?
I love it. I like the art. The art is amazing. Like, it's very realistic.
It's good. I think we like it so far. It's a good start.
We have the Magician.
Geordie LaForge.
Geordie LaForge, the Magician.
And what do we think about him?
I mean, hey, he is the magician. Like, you know, he's the chief engineer, so.
So he's really good at using tools. The magician in The Rider-Waite-Smith has all their tools in front of them on the table, right?
Yeah.
So that actually makes sense. So now I'm at my first criticism of the deck. So far, all of the characters are just sitting there.
Yeah,
And I think it would be really cool if he was doing something. Like if he had a tricorder, I think that would be more magician-like.
Maybe.
Like show him doing something.
But we know who he is.
Yeah, but if you... Do you feel confident in your understanding of the magician card?
No.
No. But see, it would probably be easier to be confident in the understanding of the magician card if it showed him doing something. I think. But it's a very nice picture of LeVar Burton. Looking lovely, as always.
Do this one.
I'll do this one. The High Priestess is Counselor Deanna Troi, which makes sense because the High Priestess has a lot to do with intuition. And Deanna Troi has very strong intuition because
She's an empath.
is an empath and the ship's counselor. So she's very, very intuitive about what other people are thinking.
Good choice for
and how to best help them.
the High Priestess.
And I think that that's a really good choice. And it's good. The art is really good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? This is an important tarot question. What do you think about these borders? Like how they have these outlines around. Do you like that?
Yeah, I don't mind it. What is the significance of these? Like, is that our number? 2, 3?
Yes.
Oh, I
so
see.
the cards are numbered. So High Priestess is Major Arcana 2, and they're in a border
I see.
there at the top.
So it's like a kind of.
So they would always be numbered. But sometimes cards, the art goes right to the edge. And sometimes it has a frame. I think these are pretty nice. Like, those are not borders that you would trim off. Sometimes you trim off the borders if they're obnoxious. These are not.
Oh, the Empress has a tool.
The Emperor... You go ahead.
Oh, I get to do it?
You get to do it.
The Empress has a tool.
We can take turns.
And is obviously doing something very medical.
Because that is...
That's
Dr. Crusher.
Beverly Crusher.
What would you think the Empress is like if it's Dr. Crusher?
Oh, so somebody who is healing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is, what would you say, compassionate?
Yep.
So,
And also the Empress has to do with the body sometimes. And so having a doctor could make sense in that way. I really like that. And I like that she's holding something. And she has what could be something like a medical chart.
in the background.
In the background, which
Definitely.
is cool. Which is cool. The Emperor who's all about structure and order, the Emperor card.
Mm-hmm.
Will Riker, the number 1. I think that's a pretty
Structure
good pick.
and order.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
He sometimes
pretty good
goes
choice.
outside of it, but some of the rest of them too.
Obviously, the majors are all going to be like bridge crew and like next admirals and captains, and so I don't even know what that is.
You don't. Oh, that's the Hierophant.
The Hierophant.
Alina Nikhaev, Admiral of the United Federation of Planets. The Hierophant has to do with. I just said structure. The Hierophant has to do with tradition, and has to do with institutions as well, like authoritative institutions. I would say
that's what she would represent. On the bridge of the Enterprise, she's
in charge.
In charge. And
in the Marseille Tarot, and some other, like the historic traditional tarots, this card would be the Pope. So there's a very authoritative aspect of the Hierophant.
Oh, I think this was a really good choice.
So that works. I love this one too, and I knew about it because of the back of the box.
Oh, this is a really good choice. We've got Chief O'Brien.
Chief O'Brien and Keiko.
And Keiko as the lovers.
And they're actually doing something.
They're getting married.
That's their wedding. And there's a good episode with their wedding where Data is a bit foolish in the episode with the wedding because there are some cold feet. How good is this dress also? That's amazing.
You have to wait for it to focus, right?
You do. And if you try to put your head beside it, it's not as good at focusing because it tries to find your face. It's better if you try to hide behind the card, which is weird. I love this.
Yeah,
they're perfect.
That's a good choice for the lovers.
And this is a really fun episode because there's some cold feet, and Data tries to kind of mediate and support his best friend, Chief O'Brien, and it doesn't really pan out entirely well.
I got two. Do I have 2 cards here? Feels like I do.
You do.
Okay, there we go.
They're a bit sticky. Number 7 is the Chariot.
Let me do it this way.
And we have...
Of course.
The Enterprise
itself.
And so...
And why not?
That makes sense because the Chariot is a vehicle. Like, a chariot is a vehicle. And it's a vehicle that, in its meanings, moves quickly, about progress, about steering, about orienting, about direction. And so I think that makes sense too. Now, you didn't think that you maybe would like this choice.
You told me about this choice.
Worf is the strength card. What do you think about the strength being Worf?
I mean, Data's stronger than Worf. I mean, lots
of people. In what way?
In, like, how much he can lift.
But strength can also be inner strength.
Guile.
And discipline. And dedication. And...
of course, yes, Worf does make a good choice in some ways for the strength card. Because
Let's see what the book says. This can be an example to see what the book says and why they would pick Worf. It says, for each one it has an upright and a reversed and a general meaning, so that's how much you get. And it says, strength challenges us to overcome every obstacle and rise above every conflict. It asks us to demonstrate the power of our resolve. As Chief Security Officer on the Enterprise, Lieutenant Worf displays his strength in many different ways, from his fighting prowess to his sense of honor. Together, these qualities allow him to excel as both a Klingon warrior and a Starfleet officer. And I actually really like that the upright and reversed meanings are really focused on the character as well. So the upright talks about not having to face your challenges alone and having a crew. And the reversed talks about struggling to control anger, which sometimes Worf also does, as it explains. So if you didn't know a lot about Star Trek so far based on just looking at one entry, you would actually still get context for knowing who's who and why they're there. Like if you'd never seen Worf before and you didn't know.
Ooh, we've got a great character here. As the Hermit.
As the Hermit.
We have Dr. Noonien Singh.
Dr. Noonien Singh. And what do we know about him?
That he was like
What does he do?
a
Tell
mad
people what
scientist. He built Data
he built Data
and Lore
and Lore.
and many other failed androids, I think.
And so, for a hermit,
As a hermit,
he's kind of a hermit.
well, he does.
And you can see his experiments in the background of the card too.
There are some episodes where he is like mostly on the run
And he's kind of reclusive. Like he's in his like laboratory by himself, particularly when his experiments are not welcome.
and they put him in prison too.
They did.
So he ends up in prison. So.
He ends up in prison. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched Star Trek, now you know.
One of my favorite
One
characters.
of our favorites. Guinan.
We love you, Whoopi.
We love Whoopi, who's Guinan, who's in the Wheel of Fortune. And Guinan is not Guinan played by Whoopi Goldberg, but Guinan is also a character in one of the new tracks.
Yes.
Picard. Guinan makes an appearance.
As a younger version.
As a younger version. Like the actor is younger. And I think that that's good for the Wheel of Fortune, which can have to do with fate, can have to do with destiny, and free will and destiny. There's a kind of interplay there, I think, or agency. Huh? That's kind of cool. I don't know about the background.
Yeah, weird.
The background looks like a flaming planet.
She's a mysterious one, though.
It doesn't really say a lot about the character. But she looks great.
This next one, I could argue that I thought someone else would be in this position.
We did talk about this and who might be Justice, and we thought it could be somebody else. But I kind of like that it's Picard.
Sure, I mean, it makes sense. He does make a lot of decisions on the, that mete out justice and punishment.
He's justice-minded.
Yeah, of course.
It says in the book, the justice ensures that we are treated fairly and with impartiality. And that no matter who you are or where you come from, you should be judged by actions alone, and Jean-Luc Picard does his utmost to uphold that ideal and display integrity. That's pretty good, I think. Oh my goodness. I'm sneaking ahead. I'm not going to sneak ahead.
You sneaked ahead.
I'm not going to sneak ahead.
I caught a glimpse of somebody too. We've got the Hanged Man is Berkeley. Barclay, sorry.
He's an interesting one. What would we tell people about Barclay?
Well, Barclay has trouble with like holodeck addictions and like. So as the Hanged Man, he has trouble with relating with people too. Like he has social anxieties to overcome. He does.
Mm-hmm. He's very in his head, I think, a lot of the time.
So I mean, does that jive with the Hanged Man?
Let's see what their rationale is. I'm not looking ahead.
Yes, you are.
I'm not trying to look ahead. Okay. You're right. The Hanged Man is caught between choice and hesitation, decision and indecision. He is trapped and filled with inner conflict. Reginald Barclay knows that conflict well, and it talks specifically about his social anxiety, hampering his efforts to interact with his fellow officers, and having many phobias that make him hesitant to join away teams. Mm-hmm. That's actually pretty good for the Hanged Man, insofar as the Hanged Man can have to do with pause and being still and, getting a new perspective on things. That makes sense.
Well, this makes sense.
Death.
The death card makes sense.
Spoiler alert. Tasha Yar is the death card. Why does it make sense?
Well, because she's the first bridge officer to die.
She is.
In, the second season?
Very early on. Very early. Is it even the second season or the first?
I think it might have been the second season. Maybe it was first.
It was either very late first or very early second. Maybe the transition between the two.
I don't know.
It was very early.
Yeah.
That's sometimes death card is depicted in a way that doesn't mean, physical human death. But I would say that here it does, actually.
Yeah, well.
Which is interesting. A lot of modern decks don't do that.
There's a little secret episode where she doesn't actually die. Oh, because they went back and there was a time travel episode where they save her and put her on a ship in the past.
There is. So
but it's okay.
She may not.
So
be
she
dead.
doesn't die.
Spoiler.
Nobody ever dies. Nobody ever really dies.
Oh, this is somebody who we thought might be in this one. Who we thought would be in this deck. We talked about it. Some of these we didn't guess. We didn't guess Barclay.
No. This is a great character.
This is a great character.
One of the greatest Star Trek characters of all time.
Greatest of all time for Temperance.
For Temperance, we've got
Spock.
Oh, yeah.
Spock. Temperance. What do we know about Temperance?
Admiral Spock? Or no, he never was an admiral. He was a ambassador.
Mm-hmm. And Temperance has to do with taking different capacities and abilities and blending them together into a whole that works well.
Spock was good at that.
Thinking about his Vulcan and human sides and his reason and logic and
his Romulan sides.
His humanity.
His temperance with the Romulans to try to bring the Vulcans and the Romulans together again.
Mm-hmm. And as an ambassador, it makes a lot of sense thinking about bridges between. This is really good. This is good. This is fun. This is fun.
This is a great deck.
This is fun.
I'm having a great time.
Okay. The Devil.
Well, of course. He did do a lot of crazy...
This is someone that we thought would be in it for sure.
Yeah.
It's Lore.
And he messed with the Enterprise plenty to be considered the devil.
And so, we won't say too much about the show, but obviously he looks a lot like Data, right?
I think everybody knows the show pretty well.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
You don't want to spoil things like that?
Everybody on watching my channel knows Tarot well.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody knows Star Trek well.
If you don't.
Lore is the devil.
Lore is the devil.
That makes sense. Now, this is somebody that I love and that I wanted to have in it.
Mm-hmm. Hugh.
I love the plot line with Hugh. And Hugh is a Borg, of course. And Hugh is another character who, and this I won't spoil what happens because people probably haven't seen it yet, but Hugh is also in the first season of Star Trek Picard, the new one, played by the same actor who played Hugh in Star Trek TNG. And it's really sad, the whole plot of Hugh.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. He's a disassociated Borg. He doesn't understand his place in the universe anymore. Yeah,
and he gets separated. The Borg is, for folks who don't know, the Borg is like a hive consciousness where they take over different planets and ships and people and entities and they assimilate them into their hive mind by kind of making them into this kind of android figures like this. And Hugh gets cut off from the collective, so everything that he knows is all of a sudden gone.
And he gets to befriend
and he's
Geordi.
Alone. And he's completely alone. And that's really good for the tower because usually the tower card is the tower falling. And there's lightning striking the tower and it has to do with, the foundations crumbling under you and things that you took for granted being, not able to be taken for granted anymore. Like a total change in perspective, total reorientation. And I think that Hugh is perfect.
Okay, who do we got
for that? I love Hugh.
Oh,
your favorite character.
My favorite. Wesley has a very interesting story within the Star Trek canon, where he becomes a traveler.
He does. Spoiler for the new series as well.
A traveler. Well,
Wesley.
Who knows what a traveler is?
Played by Will Wheaton, and Will Wheaton is a great audiobook reader. Incidentally, now
he's also a decent actor.
He
does.
Wesley is a character that a lot of people don't like.
Well, I don't know why.
Make fun of him.
He's not that bad. He's got a bit of he was young when he was. He was
very young. The star card has to do with hope and being guided.
And he was guided by that. The traveler that helped him become what he became.
I think that's a good pick.
The moon.
This is one that we guessed.
I don't get this one.
This is one that we guessed who would be in it. You don't get it because you don't know what the moon card means?
No. I don't know what the moon card means.
But we know who that is because we guessed.
I love the Ensign Rowe story.
We guessed that Ensign Rowe would be one of the supporting. We were trying to think of how we were trying to think, I think of, 21 characters who might be in the major arcana or like people other than the really, really obvious ones who might be in here, and Ensign Row is one that we thought of.
That we thought would be in there.
And the moon card has to do with something that's kind of a sticking point, because some people think that the moon card is negative. I don't. It's also the card associated with Pisces. That's why I don't think it's negative.
Well, she's not a negative influence in the story or anything.
No, she's not.
She's a positive influence for the Enterprise. And
she is. But
Starfleet.
the moon has to do with mysteriousness and things not being what they seem.
Well,
so that's a really good
She
pick.
is a positive influence for Starfleet, but we didn't know that the whole time because she did sort of espionage and.
Yeah, so she's somebody who was not who she seemed, for sure. And so that aspect of the moon makes sense. And I want to see if that's what they say in here. Mm-hmm. Because that's something that, we're coming up with reasons. And maybe we're always right and maybe we're not. The moon offers both intuition and illusion as it hangs brightly in the sky. And it goes on to talk about when Ensign Ro Laren arrives on the Enterprise, she is caught between two worlds, powerless to protect her home world, Bajor, from the occupying Cardassians, which is a whole plot also in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which I really love Deep Space Nine. She blames the Federation for not doing more to help. The resulting frustration left her both directionless and resentful. So there is some negative in this one. Mm-hmm. But she also, it talks about recovering her sense of purpose when she joins the Maquis. And the Maquis is in several. They're in Voyager, too.
The Maquis are a great storyline. Yeah, they're good. And, of course, Deanna's mother.
Loxana Troy. Another favorite.
Mrs. Roddenberry.
Yep. Majel Roddenberry. Majel Roddenberry... Also, she's producing a show that we're watching right now. Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda.
Oh my god, it is cheesy.
It is.
Oh my god, it's cheesy.
The sun is a card that is happy and bright and and positive.
That's her character in there for sure. She's always bright and positive.
You're biting your tongue not to also say like irritating.
Well, I think Picard would agree with me. She's a little irritating.
Did you guess this?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so Chris,
I guessed this one right.
Chris doesn't really know very much about tarot except what I say.
Well, I thought he would be either this or the judge.
Or
justice.
Yeah, and so Chris guessed that Q would be a judge and therefore be in the justice card.
But no, he's in the judgment.
But he's in the judgment card.
I didn't know there was a judgment card. There you go.
But that's a good picture of him as well.
And that's him on the
judge's seat.
Judge's seat there that he always
judging.
Because
Picard.
Spoiler alert, he's judging all of humanity.
Blanket spoiler alert for this entire video. And the world card,
which is I don't know. That just looks like our galaxy.
The galaxy. That's the world.
Well, is it the
That's
Milky
the world.
Way?
It's totality. It's everything. It's
looks like the Milky Way.
Completion. Yeah.
Okay,
so that's
easy.
Good.
That's an easy one to pick.
Okay, so now we have four. We're gonna have 4 suits, and we have cloaks first. It's a pip deck. Just I was wondering about if it would be a pip deck, because they say fully illustrated on the box, but a lot of these are pip decks, which means that they just have the pips, right?
Okay, so that's fine.
So,
well, not all of them, but
we're separating them, and they're color coded.
They are.
So we have Batleth, Latinum, cloaks, and starships, and they're color coded in colors associated with the elements: blue, red, yellow, and green. Though normally I would associate yellow with air, and I don't think that's the air. I don't think Latinum is the air suit, because that doesn't make sense. I'm going to see what they've chosen so that we know what we're talking about here. The minor arcana. Now, okay, There's an introduction.
Yeah.
Understanding your tarot deck.
We could fast forward through this little.
No, we're not fast forwarding through it. No, we're not going to do that. Okay.
I like doing that. It's fun.
So this is a really strange thing. The suit of cloaks, it says.
Okay, let's.
We can hold one up to show the suit of cloaks is green. And it represents adventure, ingenuity, revelations. Represented by the Romulans.
And it's green.
And it's fire suit. So the fire suit is green.
Well, which is interesting because Romulans, all of their, like, what we associate as red as humans, like red being like stop, it's always green with these guys. Like, it's always opposite. Everything's green with them. Like,
I mean, green goes with
warning,
Romulans. Green doesn't go with fire, with wands.
Oh, okay.
Though.
But when their warning lights go off, they're green.
They're green, that's true.
That's right. And when our warning lights go off, they're red.
Whereas the suit of Latinum represents finance, fortune, and laborious pursuits. As we guessed, it's pentacles associated with the element of earth, but it's yellow. So that's a bit
and they have
of a thing to get
really
used
nice
to.
Ferengi on the...
Ferengi, of course, are going to be the suit of Latinum. And then the Batleths correspond with the element of air, or here they call wind for some reason. So that's swords. You were right.
Swords. The Batleths are swords.
Associated with the Klingons.
And of course, that's one of the most famous Klingons right there.
And they describe it as conflict, power, and judgment.
Gowron.
And then the suit of starships is emotions, relationships, and imagination. So that is cups.
Emotions, relationships, and imagination.
And they are represented by the Federation. So it's all Federation folks in the cups.
And that being, what's his name again? Spock's father.
Let's go through. I suspect that some of these we might even need to have a little cheat and look in the book. That's Sarek. That's Sarek.
Oh, okay, that's Sarek.
So I guess we're starting with cups.
Okay, we're going to start with cups.
We have Sarek as the King of Cups. And that's interesting to have, because the cups is a suit of emotion, to have a...
Okay.
To have him on there. That's interesting. But it says that he has mastered his emotions and is never dominated by despair, passion, or outrage. And that's why he's the king of starships.
Makes sense.
For the King of Cups.
Are we ready?
That makes sense.
Next
Okay.
The Queen
We've
of
been
Cups.
in here for... That's you saying we've been on here for 30 minutes. The Queen of Cups is Alyssa Ogawa.
Queen of Starships.
Queen of Starships.
Alyssa is a medical technician. I think she takes over whenever Beverly leaves the room.
For Knight, we have Nella Darren.
Whoops. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, look who's this.
She helps others better understand their emotions, and one of my favorites. I teach this episode of my sociology class.
We have Lal.
Lal, Data's daughter.
Data's
as the Page of Starships, and that is actually completely perfect, and I don't have to look at the book at all because Lal is, of course, an android who's Data's daughter, and the episode that follows Lal, she is learning how to interact with the crew, and particularly learning to have relationships, and is very interested in learning how to have relationships. And there's sense that she develops emotion. So,
and
as the
chooses
Page,
her own gender.
She does choose her own gender, and so Data immediately becomes a better parent than most humans. So she develops emotion, and so being the Page of Starships, that's a good one. Now this is where people are gonna, I think, not like this deck, and Chris is signaling that we're gonna skip on ahead.
We can say like each card has many starships.
We've got pips. Are the pips arranged in any kind of a way?
Well, there's one starship, two starships, three starships.
Yeah. So to just show a quick flip through, we've got one, and then we have one coming in out of the side, two. So these are not arranged in any way that, like, there are some arrangements of pips that are traditional,
And instead of Roman numerals, they have like the regular numbers at the bottom.
Arabic numerals.
Arabic numerals. So there you go.
And so there you go. It is pips with starships on it. These decks, sometimes people find this to be lazy.
I don't. I mean, there's a lot already going on.
Because they're kind of copy and pasted.
I mean, there's a lot going on in the
I'm not
in
mad
the rest
at
of the
it.
deck.
The colors are nice.
I mean, you've already got how many majors?
22.
22, and then 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 quartz times 4, 16 quartz.
So that's still a lot of art. So
it's a lot of art. But again, see, I wish he was... There's so many good action scenes with him.
So
Why is he not in an action scene?
Oh, who? This? Oh, yeah.
Gowron.
He's got a lot of action scenes.
Gowron is a great character. What would you say about Gowron? What's he like to
Gowron is a sneaky snake.
He's good, though. He's so good. And the actor who plays him is fabulous.
Yeah. The Gowron character is sneaky and
very smart.
Very smart and trying to do the right thing, and sometimes his methods are...
It's very strategic.
Yeah, sometimes his methods are very unscrupulous.
And strategic, that's good for swords. So it says that Gowron, he is not an easy Klingon to impress, but those who pass his judgment will be met with unwavering support. His strategic and calculating nature may be intimidating, but his firm justice is dispensed with unrelenting integrity, though sometimes not in the ways that the crew would like.
Who's next here?
Kurak.
Kurak, Queen of Batlets.
The portraits are really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
The portraits are really good.
Well done.
The art is great. I wish that they were a bit more action-y.
Okay, who do we got next?
Talir.
Talir. The Knight of Batlets.
And...
Oh, what a wonderful little Klingon here.
Alexander.
Alexander Worf's
baby Klingon.
Baby Klingon.
That's Worf's son, Alexander.
Wonderful.
I like that he's the page. That's perfect. The pages have to do with learning and being new at the area of their suit. So both Lal and Alexander Roshenko make sense as a page.
And then you get
these are all in funny order.
And you get Pippies like Batlets. All in order. There's 4 or 5. 5 of Batlets.
Yeah, they're Pip deck.
Pipped. That's fine.
I'm going to be really thrown by the colors at first. Until I can remember. I mean, Batlets as swords is fairly straightforward because it's a sharp weapon. Instrument. So it obviously goes with swords, but red, you would think wands, I think.
Oh.
And so I think reading, that will be a challenge if I'm going to give a critique.
So, who is this?
Bach.
Oh, okay.
Captain Bach.
Captain Bach, who was instrumental in a few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And they love the Latinum, those Ferengis.
There are some fabulous actors who play Ferengis. Wallace Shawn played one of the Ferengis. Vash.
Captain Picard's love interest.
Yeah, she's interesting.
One of his many love interests, I suppose.
She's an interesting character.
Ooh.
Ooh. Queen Goss.
Knight of Latinum, Goss. Very interesting. I like that he's looking devious.
She.
Oh, is it?
She. And then Dr. Rega is the page. And then we have Latinum. Do you want to show the Latinums?
Yeah.
We have to show some from every suit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of Latinum.
It's just a bunch of Latinum. So Latinum is a currency, obviously, in the Star Trek universe. And the
There's
Ferengi are depicted
7.
as very Latinum focused, though I think that they are redeemed in many ways in DS9. Some of the Ferengi characters in DS9 are very complicated and multi-dimensional characters who have much more complicated motivations and are less stereotyped than some of the early Ferengis were, for sure.
Okay.
Then we have cloaks. So cloaks are wands, which are shown through the Klingons. And something to mention that I also think is weird, just because this is not how I think of the cards. In the book, it gives you the courts first, king, queen, knight, and page, and then it goes ace to 10, which is weird, because I think of the 10 beside the page. But that's okay. Tomalak is the king of cloaks. That's a good pick.
Tomalak.
Taking command, being in charge. That's a good pick.
Okay. And this is why we say that Tasha might not have died.
Sayla.
Tasha may not have died because
She might
there
be Sayla.
is her granddaughter.
The queen of cloaks. Taurus.
Taurus.
Now, one thing here that I think could be an improvement in this deck as well. See, you love it. I'm critical.
I don't mind it. It's
Looking
nice.
at lots of tarot decks. Salak
Salak.
is that I wish that the guidebook had.
Romans.
I wish that the guidebook maybe mentioned something for the courts about who these people are, because the majors do.
Right.
But then for these court cards, it tells you who it is. It has their
Their
name.
name and not exactly what they did.
But then the description of the cards, it has nothing to do with them.
Them particularly.
It has the kind of characteristics, like trust their instincts, confidence, eager to take on a challenge. Like it has these like very generic characteristics that people
Then we
will
have the
recognize.
Pips.
Pips.
Showing like the 3 of cloaks and being 3 cloak. Not cloaked.
Not cloaked.
I mean, what were they going to do? Just show
Okay.
you a blank page and say,
Okay.
yeah, it's cloaked.
So the cloaks are really a second starship suit. Except they're shown in green to indicate that they're cloaked.
They must be cloaked.
No, I wish that the book had more about the court card characters, because I don't even remember, like some of the characters who are in the courts are people who are in like one episode.
Yes.
Or very few. Like
Very few episodes,
Like
yes.
Gowron you see a lot. Alexander you see enough.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Lal you only see one episode of Lal, but it's a very
She's
memorable
a
one.
very memorable one, I guess.
Tomalak you see a fair amount.
And
Sayla, you see
another
a few
memorable
times.
program.
But it's like people are not going to remember. I don't remember every single plot of every single one of these folks just off the top of my head. You might.
I remember
If we sat here and thought about it, we would. But so that's something. But they do make. There's a picture in color of every single card, which is good. The guidebook is in color, which is nice. And the guidebook, I like how the guidebook has the frame that the cards have. Are you adjusting yourself?
Yeah.
I like how this has the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Like the text page has a frame border, just like the card. That's a good touch.
Mm-hmm.
The binding of the book feels like it's not going to fall apart. That's a good touch.
Mm-hmm.
It has something about the author and the illustrator in the back. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not
It's a very
bad.
nice deck. I give it a 8.5 out of 10.
There you go. 8.5 out of 10. That is our first impressions of Star Trek Next Generation Tarot Deck and Guidebook. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for sticking with us for 44 minutes of first impressions.
44 minutes. Sorry about that.
See you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.